Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to East Central Missouri and the world, and welcome to the James Strong Show podcast, podcast number 254. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making us a part of your day. I appreciate it. This podcast was recorded on the morning of Saturday, February 5th, from the James Strong Studio in Western St. Charles County. Another podcast? I just did one a few days ago. That's okay. Way back when, I made the commitment to do about one podcast a week, okay? 50 a year. And about one podcast a week means sometimes you don't get a podcast. But about one podcast a year can mean some weeks, some weeks, maybe you get two. This is one of those weeks. I had a plan on, hey, I did a podcast on Wednesday when the snow fell and I didn't go into the day job. Thanks to Kevin Hawkins for sitting in on the podcast. Podcast number 253. Take a listen to it. It's about cars. You'll enjoy it. Anyway, I thought, well, now I got a Saturday open. I'll get up bright and early and I'll work on the Jaguar. Friends, it's 5 degrees outside, and while I have a heated shop, the shop is not heated now. I can go up there later, turn it on, and within about 3 hours, it'll be halfway warm. Well, it's not halfway warm now, and I thought, you know what? I'm up. There's stuff going on. I'm going to go ahead and do a podcast. And what I'm going to talk about this week, two things that are going on. The main essay I'm going to talk about today is the whole Spotify, Joe Rogan, Neil Young controversy. Now, those of you who don't know what's going on, just in a nutshell, the Reader's Digest version, Joe Rogan is the number one podcaster in the world. Spotify paid him $100 million over 10 years to do podcasts back in 2020. And basically, if you want to listen to a Joe Rogan podcast, you got to listen to it on Spotify. James Strong podcast, available on probably 70 different sites, places. Joe Rogan, only one. However, I don't get $100 million a year, so there you go. But Joe Rogan signed that contract. He's exclusively on Spotify, and he has controversial guests on his show, as do most podcasters. That's the nature of podcasting. You can do stuff that other people don't do, put content out there that other people don't have. Well, Neil Young didn't like a certain doctor he had on his podcast. This is a certain doctor, basically was an anti-vaxxer, and he didn't like the content. So he said, pull my stuff off of Spotify. Well, that's kind of old news. The new news is, as of yesterday, Friday the 4th, Spotify has pulled 70 episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience off of Spotify. So this story, I'm going to go into Spotify, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and by the way, why it's nothing like Facebook, and while it's nothing like Twitter, and while it's nothing like YouTube, it is concerning. I'll just say that, okay? So we're going to talk about that, go into what is Spotify, what is Joe Rogan, what is Neil Young, and do any of them have the right to do what they're doing? Okay? Also, there was a story, it was in the New York Post and many other stories. And I'll read the headline quickly, and this is what we're going to lead off with and go into the Joe Rogan podcast. But it says, a mother opens up about being virtually gang raped in the Metaverse. And by the way, this is in the New York Post entertainment section. Have I piqued your interest? Okay, we'll get into that. But first, a little bit of news about Major League Baseball. I want to talk to you about all the news in Major League Baseball, what's going on in Major League Baseball, what they're talking about, the negotiations. Okay, here's what's going on in Major League Baseball right now. That's right. Absolutely nothing. Nothing to talk about, nothing to report, and slowly but surely, nothing to care about. Even my dear trophy wife, who is arguably the biggest Cardinal fan that I know of, definitely. there is no bigger Cardinal fan that I know of. There probably is no bigger Cardinal fan in the world, okay? And she's getting angry at the Cardinals because they keep sending her emails, hey, buy your tickets now. And her response is, buy my tickets to what? Major League Baseball, you're blowing it big time. Okay, now a nice topic for 7:06 Central Standard Time on a 5-degree cold winter morning in East Central Missouri. Mothers being raped. The story coming out of the entertainment section of the Washington Post. Okay, now you're thinking, what the heck, Strong? What the hell are you doing? And then the entertainment section about a mother being raped? Okay, here's the whole story. And I had to do research on this because she wasn't gang raped in Central Park. She was gang raped in the Metaverse. Okay, now the first thing that this old man had to do is, what in God's name is the Metaverse? I don't even know what that is. So I researched it. And it's the whole virtual reality thing, like the internet, but 3D, okay, kind of. You can, my opinion, what is the Metaverse? And this is, again, is the old man and me talking. But to me, the Metaverse is just another play baby video game site, okay, where you go to play video games, but it's virtual reality, okay? The whole, if I started talking about virtual reality, it would take an hour and then you still wouldn't know what I'm talking about, mainly because I'm not sure that I know what I'm talking about. But basically the story says this mother opens up about being virtually gang raped in the Metaverse. And there's this woman, her name is Jane Patel, Nina Jane Patel, 43, a mother, obviously. You got to throw that in to make a sexy comment or a sexy story. But the woman who reported being groped in virtual reality late last year now has come forward to discuss her horrifying experience. And here's what she says. Within 60 seconds of joining the virtual reality set, I was verbally and sexually harassed. 3 to 4 male avatars with male voices, essentially, but virtually, gang raped my avatar and took photos. As I tried to get away, they yelled, "Don't pretend you don't love it, and go rub yourself off to the photo." Nina Jane Patel, aged 43, recalled in a Medium post, Medium being the site, recounting the nightmare she experienced as a beta tester on the VR platform Horizon Worlds, created by Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook. So she was a beta tester for Facebook on this site late last year. It was a horrible experience that happened so fast, and before I could even think about putting up the safety barrier, the London-based mother wrote, referring to Meta's Safe Zone feature, which allows users to place a block on interaction with other users. Now, an attendee demonstrates on the Whoa vest, which allows users to feel physical sensations during the Metaverse experience, using wind, gunfire, or punching at the Consumer Electronics Show back on January 5th. Okay, so there's this thing called the OWO vest that lets you feel this reality. Apparently she had one of these on and she was able to feel the reality of being raped online. Now, it was a horrible experience. It happened so fast. We've already talked about that. In December, the company revealed that a then unnamed woman had been virtually groped on the platform. Well, that ungroped woman is Ms. Patel. And now she's making her voice louder to publicly discuss her concerns with the platform. Ms. Patel goes on to say, harassment in the Metaverse is a serious issue that the industry needs to come together on and put in place the correct security controls and safety measures. Now, here's where it gets real interesting. Who is Nina Patel? Okay, you know that she was a beta tester for Facebook on this virtual reality site. She was. Now she's the co-founder and vice president of Metaverse Research at Kabuni. What is Kabuni? Yeah, it's a competitor to Facebook. It's another virtual reality site. So basically, she's slamming Facebook because of a bad experience she had. And then she goes on to say, here at Kabuni, we're trying to put measures in place to safeguard against this kind of stuff. The more damaging lens, of course, will be our children who will start to use the metaverse more and more over the coming years, she wrote. The inevitable move into the metaverse now causes further concern if not properly regulated and controlled. Okay, first of all, the inevitable move into the metaverse. I don't know what that means. Now, does that mean if you want to be a gamer, to be in the know with gaming, you got to go into the metaverse? Okay, well then don't go into gaming. But she goes on to say that I founded Kabuni to establish, and I'm currently working with educators around the world to shape a safer metaverse for children aged 8 to 16. So this whole thing about how she went on and was virtually raped online. It was in a video game. Why didn't she just hit the stop button, take off the virtual reality goggles, turn off the player? I mean, this is just, to me, is just bizarre. And what's even more bizarre is, to me anyway, this happened last year. She's just now coming out almost as a public service announcement to say, oh, and by the way, if you don't want this to happen to you, because I'm a mother, which I guess it makes it worse, because if she wasn't a mother, then it would probably be okay. But because she's a mother, oh my goodness, it's even worse. But go to my website, go to my metaverse product called Kabuni, and you'll be in great shape. This, to me, friends, is bizarre beyond imagination. It's kind of like, okay, she went someplace, experienced something horrible. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but then why didn't you just turn it off? It's like if you go to a crowded bar where people are drinking, smoking, and watching football, and you're offended because people are cursing, don't go there. Okay? Don't go there. I'm not saying that any of this stuff is okay. In fact, I'm not saying it's okay at all. I don't know why anybody would want to do this dopey stuff, but there's a lot of people out there who like to play video games. And if this gives you a better video game experience, fine. If it's something you do in your spare time, I'm fine with it. It's nothing different than going to a bar, drinking and smoking and watching football and cursing at the team you don't like. To me, it's the same thing. But if you don't like what's going on, first of all, you need to understand what's going to go on if you go into a place like that. And if you don't like it, you just leave. It's that simple. It's not like, okay, I'm going to do something on the internet, and this is the only place I can go. Really? I spend a lot of time on the internet, friends, a whole lot of time. And what I basically do, probably, I would say 70% of the time I spend on the internet, probably 80% of the time I spend on the internet is catching up on the news, checking out the weather, going on to old car websites to try to figure out how to fix this Jaguar that I'm working on, catching up with friends and family on Facebook, and publishing this podcast. That's probably 80% of it. Sure, I'll go down a rabbit hole and look at some dopey TikTok video every now and then, but for the most part, that's where I spend my time on the internet. Now, is there a lot of other stuff on the internet that's not good to look at? Sure. I don't go there. Don't want to look at it. There's more importantly, the stuff on the internet that I don't give two shakes about. Video games is one of them. Again, nothing wrong with video games. It's not my thing. And if you don't want to be involved in a video game that rapes people, then play one of the other 17 million video games that are out there. Okay? 17 million may be an exaggeration, but then again, 17 million may be an understatement. There's a lot of them out there, friends. So to me, again, look, I'm not going to deny it. I'm an old guy. I don't get it. But I really don't get this one. To me, this is just a shameless play.